Hey everyone, welcome back to the dbadmin.com. If you have been following along, in our last video, we set up a virtual machine with Alma Linux using Vagrant and VMware. We also covered the installation of Vagrant VMware workstation and the required plugin. By the end of that tutorial, you had a fully functional Linux VM provisioned using Vagrant. If you missed that video, I have linked it in the description. Check it out before jumping into this one. In this video, we are going even deeper. We will create an Ubuntu virtual machine using Vagrant and VMware. We will explore the Vagrant Cloud and how to find the best base images. We will write a Vagrant file from scratch with best practices and use an external shell script to install MongoDB automatically. We will start the VM, SSH into it and verify the MongoDB installation. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a fully functional Ubuntu virtual machine running MongoDB 8.0, all managed using Vagrant. So let's get started. Before we begin, make sure you have Vagrant VMware Workstation and Vagrant VMware plugin installed on your system. If you need help with installation, check out the previous video where I covered it in depth. Once you have these installed, we are ready to move forward. Before we create our virtual machine, let's talk about Vagrant Cloud, the online repository where you can find pre-built virtual machine images, or you can call them Vagrant boxes. To access the Vagrant Cloud, open your favorite browser and search for Vagrant Cloud. Here you will find the HashiCorp website, and here you can search for your favorite operating system. For example, in this video, we are installing the Ubuntu. So we'll search Ubuntu. In the provider, we'll select VMware Desktop, VMware Workstation. And here, as you can see, this is the generic 22.04 Ubuntu, which we'll be installing. You can discover many Vagrant boxes here from different contributors and some official Vagrant boxes from HashiCorp, from Ubuntu. And you can also select different providers. For this video, we are using VMware Workstation and VMware Desktop, but you can also select the VirtualBox, Docker, AWS, DigitalOcean, Google, and there are many options. And you can also select the specific architecture that you need. For example, ARM64, AMD64, and you can also sort them with these three options, like the most downloaded image, the recently created, and the recently updated. But during downloading any of the image, please be careful that it is downloaded by other people also and from a genuine source. We'll be using this Vagrant box for this video. So keep this open because we'll need this configuration while writing the Vagrant file. Now let's start creating a virtual machine. For that, create a new folder anywhere you want in your computer. I'm creating the new folder in the desktop with the name the dbadmin. You can give any name that you want. Open this folder and over the navigation panel, type PowerShell. You can also create a new folder with the help of PowerShell and command prompt and then move into the directory and then type Vagrant in it. Please make sure you are into the right directory where you want your virtual machine to be installed. And as you can see, a Vagrant file has been placed in this directory and we are ready to Vagrant up our first virtual environment. Now let's open the Vagrant file and see what is the content in it. So open this in Notepad. Now as you can see over the screen, this is a very long text file with everything commented out. But if you'll give it a read, you will understand many of the components on your own. But I'll take you to the very essential components which will help us to write the Vagrant file on our own. So if you'll give it a read, you'll find that here you have to define the Vagrant box that you need to use. Here is the template from which you can define your networking settings. And you can even configure a synced folder that will be common between your host machine and the guest virtual machine. And here you can see the template for the provider. They are using VirtualBox in the example, but in our video, we'll be using VMware. You can customize the amount of memory and the CPUs that you want to give. And in the file itself, you can add the shell script of the software that you want to be auto-installed while you are setting up the virtual machine. So we'll be setting up MongoDB in this particular example. Now let's start writing the Vagrant file on our own. Delete all the content of the example Vagrant file and then open the browser where we have saved the Vagrant box that we need to configure. From here, copy the configuration and paste it over your Vagrant file. Now after this, we need to configure that VMware is our provider. So firstly, we will remove this end from here and keep the mark of indentation. There will be 2 spaces. So just below the config, write config dot vm dot provider. So this will define the provider, and inside the double quotes type VMware desktop do pipe VMware, and then we need to define the memory and the CPU. So VMware dot memory, I'm allocating 4096, that means 4 gigabytes of memory to this machine. You can configure it according to yourself, and then we'll define the CPUs. That will be VMware CPUs, and I'm allocating it 2 CPUs. Sorry, there should be a dot, VMware dot CPUs. And after this, we will end this block, and then we'll do the provisioning. So for provisioning, we'll use a shell script that will define inside some other file. So we'll see the concept of bootstrapping today. config.vm.provision. Here you have to define the provisioner. So that will be shell. And then you have to define the path to your shell script. So that will be path and the name of the shell script. Install underscore MongoDB.sh, and after that write end. So this is your Vagrant file which we will use to start up the virtual machine. Now we need to create the shell script which will be used for installing the MongoDB. So for that, create a new file here and name it install underscore MongoDB. Keep the name same that we have used inside the Vagrant file, and make sure to change the extension to sh so that it becomes a shell script. Now let's edit our shell script. So open this shell script in Notepad and paste the content that has been given to you in the description below. I have already configured a shell script that will install the MongoDB inside your Vagrant machine. Now we have configured both of the things, our shell script and the Vagrant file. So let's start creating the virtual machine. So open the PowerShell. Make sure you open the PowerShell in the right location where you have stored the shell script and the Vagrant file, and here do the Vagrant up. Now as you can see, we have successfully installed MongoDB and we can SSH into our Vagrant machine. So just type Vagrant SSH and now you are inside your Vagrant machine. Now let's check whether the MongoDB is successfully installed on our Vagrant machine or not. So just type MongoD --version. And as you can see, it is showing the DB version which is 8.0.4. So this shows that we have successfully installed MongoDB during creation of this virtual machine. Hey, it's a success. We have created a virtual machine having Ubuntu with VMware as provider with the use of Vagrant. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to like, subscribe and comment below. Let me know what other Vagrant setups you would like to see. Now, see you in the next one.